I'm muted. Hi. How are you guys today? Hi, Dawn.
Hi,
Hi.
TJ.
Oh, sorry, I cut you off there. Did you say anything?
No, I was just wanted to say to your fans, your subscribers, that
My fans?
they, yeah, they will have a nice surprise and information, first-hand information from Tanya.
What?
They will receive first-hand information
They always
from
receive
you.
first-hand information from me. It's okay. How are you guys? Okay, first things first. I have COVID. Um, I have been in bed all week. Tested positive since Tuesday. My whole family is positive. And I honestly thought I couldn't do it last night, today, the live stream, I mean. But then I went to bed early and now the shivers and the fever, and okay, I still have the cough. But yeah, I feel good. Um, Good enough to do the live stream. I missed you guys, and I wouldn't want to again disappoint you for not going live. But yeah, so be it. Anyways, hi everyone. Um, Another thing is it's raining buckets here, and my internet keeps cutting in and out. So if I'm doing my presentation to you guys and the internet cuts out, well, that's your loss. No, just joking. Yeah, just so you know, I'll be back then. It only takes a few seconds, right? What are we gonna talk about today? I've been on Monday to our local police station. We have a K-9 unit. The K-9 unit here in my town consists of 5 K-9s. And we're a pretty small town, and if they ever need help in any cases, they get units from the surrounding big areas or big towns that's out there. I got a lot of information. I saw one water rescue dog. The others were not available to see. I wasn't allowed to film, well, for various reasons, obviously. It's a bit of a bummer, but you wouldn't have understood anything what he was saying anyway. But yeah, I got a lot of good information, a lot of information I did not know. And also, this, I wouldn't say this changes my opinion, but this leads us in the investigation of the Watts case into a, I would say, different direction from what we thought before. So, also, I told you previously in the past few live streams that I read a massive case study about canine dogs. That case study is available on Google. It's from CSST, but I'm going to show you in a minute. I think it costs 25 or 30 dollars or something, and then you can have the whole, I believe it's 370 pages. That is what I'm going to bring in, and then you will see at the end, hopefully, that everything makes sense, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my camera off. Internet is bad anyway, and I'm just having what are you doing, Dawn? You don't want me to share the screen, do you? Dawn, you still there?
Yes,
Is
I
that a
wanted,
joke?
no, I wanted the people to see proof
Oh,
if they
proof.
don't believe you.
All right, you guys. I show you proof that I have COVID because this is what I sent to Dawn. Yeah, I really do. Both tests. I always do 2 tests because I'm thinking, one might be not right, but then I have basically confirmation if I do a second one. So, yeah, here it is. Okay, let's get rid of this. I want to get better. All right. So, nice toes. Yeah, not done at all. Summer needs to come. I'm lazy. All right. My toes will be all over the internet tomorrow. What? I'm pregnant? No. Oh, that's what Dawn said too. Are you pregnant with twins? All right. Okay. Enough jokes. We're talking about the K-9 mystery, I called it, because it is kind of a mystery, isn't it? Some people think nobody died in the house. Some people think, yes, they died in the house. And do we actually really have proof? No, we don't, right? We can only go by what the K-9s actually telling us, what Jeff and Officer T. Catch, or what her name is, and Jane do tell us through their dogs. And so there's not really proof if you don't have the right information to make up your mind about canines, right? So before we getting into the case and what I found in the discovery or in the body cam footage today, recently, fresh new discovery, I think it's important that I'm going to explain to you guys, might be a little bit boring for one or the other, what's the background and what kind of canines are there and why do they look for the wind and stuff like that. So it was hell for me to find everything translated in English, what this guy in my local police station told me. So anyways, I tried, and I think I did a pretty good job. So there are different types of canines, and as I was explained, the different types of canines basically specialize in a field they do in. So there's the air scent dog for air rescue. There's the trailing or tracking dog, which was one of Jane's dog was a tracking dog. The cadaver dog, the human remains detection. There is dogs that work in disasters, then with snow and water. So these are the different types. Each dog is specialized in the field they are working in and cannot be or shouldn't be trained in any other field additionally. So I was told that you can, let's say you have a cadaver dog, you can train this dog for detecting distress or trauma, as Jane explains to us in the body cam, right? So then there are different types and patterns a dog is handled. We see in the body cam footage that Jane, for example, she has a close grid to her dog. She lets him loose a little bit, then pulls him back, lets him loose a little bit again, and then pulls him back again. So there are different patterns, which is the free search, the open grid, the close grid, the cross grid, the on-lead search, the spiral search, and next to it, you have the application. So what we see is the close grid, first and foremost, in the body cam footage. We don't know what they did with the other two dogs, really, or what pattern they had. We don't really see it. But for Jane's dog, we have a pretty good eye on this, and so we can establish that it's a close grid. So dogs work within 5 to 15 inches ahead of handler, quartering the wind. Handler is able to observe the dog most of the time, requires good control, which she had over her dog. The application is dog can be directed into specific areas, for example, heavy brush. Gives higher probability of detection. So what that means is basically she's leading the dog into the direction she wants him to detect something, right? So she's not letting him loose somewhere over to the open field. She has him close and she tells him, hey, look here, look there, blah, blah, blah. Thank you, Adrienne. Thank you so much. So these are the types of search patterns, they call it. So then when we remember, Jane said in the body cam, would you turn the fan off, turn the furnace off, these things. And this has to do with what direction or what the dogs actually can detect in scent. So I have a few examples for you. Dogs work always against the wind. That means in this example here, the wind comes from, you see the top of the picture, and the dog would start on the opposite side, right? And goes in like circles, makes his way towards the wind, always in the direction of the wind. Then here, this is what they also did. And this is with the wind, I forgot. You hear Jane oftentimes say, oh, the wind comes now from this direction when she's out in the fields or on the road with Officer Lines, the short message queen of Colorado. She says, the wind comes from this direction. Then she leads her dog into this direction to go against the wind. But I'm going to show you that in a bit anyway. Then what they also do, they had 3 dogs on scene, and dogs never cross their patterns. Like they split the search area into different corridors, right? So one dog number 1 would never cross the path of dog number 2, and not the dog number 2 would never cross the path of dog number 3, as you see here, right? So they go in like little circles, always against the wind, as you can see here in that picture as well. The wind comes from the bottom of that image, and the dog starts always on the opposite side. That's why wind is so important. Why wind is so important, I'll show you in a second. Here you see multiple dog handlers with multiple dogs. They just divide their search areas, in this case 5. Why is that? Because of this. So you have different surfaces, right? You have trees, you have flat land, you have some hills or mountains and whatnot. And this is why it's important to divert the sections. So with no wind, this is where the scent would pool, right? No wind, this is representing a body. With no wind, it would just go around. That's why humidity basically is of importance too. The wind comes from the left, so the scent will be going into the right direction, to the right direction. This is why the dog would start over here to the right, because he is basically going with the wind into the smell or the scent of a deceased body. Then what's also important is the thermal uplift. And this is why some dogs sniff on the ground. Some dogs sniff up in the air. We can see from Jeff's dog, when he walks through the area, for example, he always has his nose, or mostly has his nose up in the air. When he walks into the garage to see if he can pick up a scent, he rarely has his nose on the floor. While Jane's dog, almost all of the time, he has his nose. Sorry, there was some fuss going here. He has his nose most of the time on the floor. So thermal heat. When it's hot, the thermal heat, when it's no wind, right? The scent will basically go upwards. And this is why the dogs not only sniff on the floor, but also in the air, if they can make or can make out any scent of death. Then here, same. This is the wind direction. And this is why they basically divide search areas. So one dog would be standing up on top of that little hill, and the other dog would be standing right here and start searching, always in the direction opposite to the wind. Same with trees in the area. When you search for a tree, they will always, in a wooden area, for example, they would always have more than one dog. Because let's say the dog number 2 is the only dog. Yeah, he would never smell anything when he comes from the left, because the tree is in the middle of the way. I hope that was kind of good to understand what I meant. Then same with water. When you have a body in water, they go the same. When they go with the wind, they go with the current. So basically what they do, the current comes from the left in this image, and the dog would search from the right. So this is all that background information that, I did not know, and that you basically need to know to make up your mind and to form an opinion about why they did what they did in the Watts case, and why they why the dogs reacted the way they did, right? So same here, when the wind changes, they will have 3 dogs. When wind blows all over the place in different directions, there wouldn't be only one dog, there would be several, because one is going from the left, one is going searching in the middle, and one is searching from north or west or east. Same with here. That's a bit of a weird picture, but it does make sense. Wind comes from the left. Where would the dog be? Obviously on the right. And now here, for example, when a body is up on a tree, a dog that would have its nose always on the ground and starts here would never smell the scent that comes up in the air. That's why you have different types of dogs, different types of training. One's on the floor, one's up in the air with its nose. Okay, so far, is that clear? Or do you guys have any questions? Keep in mind I have a little delay on my StreamYard, so just waiting if you guys have any questions so far. If not, then I would just go ahead. Don, do you have any questions?
No, everything is logical and clear. It is about scent molecules that, I mean, the scent attaches to air molecules and the wind spreads them.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, everything makes sense.
Okay, if you guys have any questions later, we can still discuss that. So, all right. Can a K-9 smell the scent of death immediately after a person dies? This is the question of all questions. And this is what I asked the handler in my town as well. And he explained to me a little bit something about trauma dogs' distress and how they detect it, right? So you got to keep in mind that a trauma dog, where were fans? Oh, the fans. And yeah, we're getting to that, Suburb of Dreams. That's a good question. If you're in distress, and he said to me, basically, they use trauma dogs or distress detecting dogs, they call them, I believe, for let's say an example, kidnapping. Yeah, they would go with that distress detecting dog to the spot where the victim was last seen, or last, sometimes, when a kidnapping occurs, you get pulled in the car or whatnot, right? So they go there. What happens with your body is, even if you're not aware, when you're in distress, in fear, in an argument, you start to sweat. Even though if you don't necessarily notice that you start to sweat, your skin does, right? That's a sign of distress. Or some people, they get like these sweat pearls on their forehead and stuff, and that's just a sign of distress, of stress, of arguments, of whatnot. So the person isn't in their normal situations they normally would be, right? So you have dead skin cells on top of your skin, and as soon as you start to be in distress, those skin cells fall off, and this is what the dog smells, right? Distress skin cells. This is how they train the dogs. When they smell fallen off skin cells. I mean, I'm explaining it like I would love for somebody to explain it to me, because I never understand anything, right? Unless you explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old. So please forgive me if I'm talking like I'm talking to 5-year-olds. All right. So basically the dead skin cells fall off your body. I mean, there's more behind this, right? But I cannot explain to you your whole body and how it all works. But it's basically they fall off, and this is what the dog smells. Some people get that confused with a cadaver dog, or a trauma dog, or a tracking dog. Smell death like immediately. If a person is in distress, then a dog can smell that immediately. But can a K-9 smell the scent of death immediately after a person dies? And the answer is no, right? The scent of death cannot be detected by a dog, let's say a minute or 10 minutes after a person dies. It's not true. And this is why I have an article basically on, when you die, the body starts the decomposition process. And it goes through different stages of decomposition. The first it goes through is autolysis. That means muscle stiffening and all that rigor mortis that comes later. So what happens is autolysis, and I leave that on the screen because I'm not going to read everything out that's in the article. It's too confusing. But what I'm going to say is this. So it starts about 2 to 6 hours after death and spreads out 4 to 6 hours in all the muscles and remains in place for about 24 to 84 hours. So your body starts to develop the smell of death after approximately 2 hours, depending on where you died, right? When you die or get murdered or whatever in an open field with 70 degrees heat, then it starts earlier, obviously, other than when you die in water or in a colder environment, right? So, and this is where I bring in some of the case study by CSST. And then it will make all sense. So we now know autolysis, and your body goes through different stages of decomposition and starts approximately between 2 and 6 hours after death. So what they did is they did a trial, like a case study that began in January 1997, but they are ongoing investigating and studying about this stuff. So they never stopped. It's still ongoing. Like they develop new trainings, and then they might make another case study, and so on and so forth. So anyway, the trial began in January 1997, right? Each consists of a line of 3 gauze pads what they are using is the lineup method. And if you remember, when Jeff, I believe, or the officers placed some scents, I believe it was in a toilet or along the way where the dog was supposed to be sniffing. And they do that so the dog will recognize the scent of the person missing or vanished, and to basically keep the scent in mind of the dog, right? So they place that in various places. So that's what they did, the lineup method. And this is what the dog handlers in the Watts case did as well. So all trials are conducted using a lineup method. Each consists of a line of 3 gauze pads, one exposed to post-mortem scent, one exposed to live human scent, and one sterile, unused pad opened with gloved hands just prior to each trial. All trials are done on a hard surface, either asphalt, cement, or hard-packed dry dirt ground. Each dog is given a cadaver command by its handler and walked through the lineup. The dog is then asked to choose and indicate to the handler which gauze contains post-mortem scent. Every trial was blind to each handler working it. That is, the handler had no prior knowledge of lineup sequence. Well, if he would, then he could have, directed the dog into the right direction, but they did not know. Dogs are given only a single choice per trial. Choices are recorded as correct or incorrect only. Any dog that appeared unwilling to commit to a single sample was removed from that trial, and the choice was recorded as incorrect. So sometimes they have to exchange the dogs, right? This is what Jane also did. She said, get the other dog in. And this is what the guy in my police station told me as well. Normally, a dog can sniff around for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then he needs a 10 to 15 minute break. So got to keep that in mind too. So all samples are properly disposed of after trial. So like I said, the trial began in January 1997. The number of dogs they used were 5 different dogs. It doesn't say, was it a trauma dog, cadaver dog, or whatever. It just says 5 different dogs. Post-mortem interval ranged from 70 minutes to 3 days. So there was persons or a person from 70 minutes to 3 days dead, right? And they took scents of them. Number of trials completed as of July 1997, and they did a total of 52 trials with these 5 dogs. Preliminary results were the shortest post-mortem interval for which we received a correct response was 1 hour and 25 minutes. However, the post-mortem interval of which we received a consistently correct response from all dogs involved is 2.5 to 3 hours. And if we remember, when does it start? 2 to 6 hours. And they found in their study, the dog is able to detect decomposition from 2.5 to 3 hours from all dogs involved. The youngest one was 1 hour and 25 minutes, but they did take the consistent correct response, and that showed 2.5 to 3 hours. So a body has to be dead for at least 2 hours, or 1 hour and 25 minutes sometimes is what they stated here. And they just took the middle score basically. So 1 hour, 25 minutes, and the body starts decomposing, or the cells or enzymes or whatever starts to split off between 2 and 6 hours. Right? What about basement? We're getting to that. just have to be patient. So that's what I said to you guys earlier. The K-9s, they specialize in one field. Additional training, such as discovery of distress and or trauma, can be added in the training and depends on the quality of the dog handler. So you got to be pretty good as a dog handler to train your dog. Your dog is only as good as you are as a handler, right? Because the dog obviously needs your commands. So overall, the dogs, this is another case study of trauma dogs or distress dogs. The dogs detected stress samples in 93.75% of the trials. Individual dogs ranged in performance from detecting the stress sample 90% to 96.88% of the times. So they are pretty accurate. So when the dog alerts to, oh, there was an argument or something was getting physical, they are 90 to 96.88% right. And the dog did detect the stress in the basement, as we know. But we're getting to this in a second. All right. Then, can K-9 dogs be fooled? Right? Can you... are they in some instances not able because a murderer placed something to distract the dog? They can't be fooled, but they certainly can be distracted. And I'm going to bring to your attention a case from Germany from 1989, where you can basically see what a dog can and can't do. And this is the case of Birgit Meyer. Birgit Meyer was the sister of the former police chief, president, sergeant, whatnot. So a pretty high up guy. She went missing. And for a long time, they thought she just disappeared. And for a long time, they suspected her husband to have something to do with her disappearance, because they were married still, but basically both of them lived their separate lifestyles, right? So she went missing. Nobody knew anything. Nobody saw her anywhere. Bank accounts, nothing been touched. So then several years later, without any luck in finding Birgit, there was a guy in Germany where they thought would be probably a serial killer or some sort of attacking women. So police was basically on his ass, right? When he found out that they were basically on his ass, what did he do? He took his own life. So the brother of Birgit, himself a high up person in law enforcement, never gave up to search for his sister. And he always felt like this guy had something to do with the disappearance of his sister. But he could never prove it. So this guy only once gave permission to search the property of his, and they didn't find anything. But they found many, many personal items of women in the surrounding area in the woods and whatnot. So surrounding areas, they found shoes, handbags, stuff like that. Some stuff, people, they publicized everything and asked for people, if they recognize one of the items, to please get in contact with them. But other than one woman saying she was attacked in the 90s and the attacker stole her boots, nobody came forward. So anyway, yeah, this case was crazy. All over the internet, all over the news, all over everywhere. Even in America, like I saw news articles when I researched this case that they even in the 90s and then in 2017, when it was finally solved, they still had news articles out there. So anyway, this guy took his own life and he left a will. So in his will, he said the family is not to sell the house ever, and not to give it away, or they should try not to lose the house in any way, shape, or form. So police obviously went back and tried to get into the house for a new search. And what they discovered was secret rooms in the attic. Really weird stuff in the attic, like he built secret doors and all that crazy stuff. So, and Birgit's brother always said he had the feeling his sister is somewhere on the property. He just has the feeling that she's there. He can feel it, right? And siblings as well as parents, or, you know, if you're close to a person, you sometimes just feel that, right? So what they did is they asked the relatives if they can do another search. And the relatives said yes, because they obviously did not know what double life that person led. So they brought in a K-9 search dog. And this was actually, these pictures are taken at the search from this guy's property. And it was like an uphill kind of surface, wooden, all the weeds and everything. So, and the dog did find something. So the dog reacted and alerted to something in the ground, like went totally, absolutely crazy. And in this case, the dog did not bark or anything. The dog was trained to just sit there, like sit and don't move. And then when he gets the command to search again, he just searched again, but he always circled and circled and circled around the same space. This is a cadaver dog, so he's trained to smell the scent of death, right? So police started digging, and what they found, to their surprise, was this guy's car. So this guy buried his car for a good reason, right? He did not want his car to be found. The dog later on, well, obviously at this stage already, but later on when they pulled out the car, they found that the dog alerted specifically to the trunk, to the smell of death. This is the dog searching the car again. This is when they pulled it out. So he basically buried it, or put rubbish and just weeds and stuff on there. And you gotta say, you gotta keep in mind, this was 27 years later, right? So this car stuck in there. Dog detected the smell of death anyways. So does that remind you not why NK sold her truck that quickly, right? So this is what he did. So the dog detected the smell of death. Then the family obviously said, no more searches. The law enforcement, Birgit's brother by then was retired, and law enforcement said, well, that's enough. We have evidence that there was a body in the trunk, but there is no evidence of any bodies in the house or on the property elsewhere, because the K-9 searched. They searched everywhere. And they didn't indicate anything. They didn't find the smell of death, nothing, right? So we're not going to put any more money into this. Basically, what they said to this man is, it's on you alone. And this is what he did. Like, out of his own pocket, he launched a new investigation. He got friends together, and they basically solved this case. Anyways, he got a chance to get back into the house. I believe that was 1 or 2 years later, after they found the car, because the family rented out the place to an elderly couple. And Birgit's brother went there and said, well, please can I search your house one more time because my sister has been missing and I have the feeling my sister is here. So the couple agreed, and Birgit's brother got a search team together with K-9s and all that, and they didn't find anything. Like the K-9s did, again, not alert to anything. So what they found is, and that was recently after the couple moved in, they found a little like hole, kind of makeshift hole in the garage. And well, you wouldn't think of anything because many people, especially mechanics, you know, they have this hole in the ground to do work underneath their trucks or cars. So it's nothing significant, right? But the depth of that place is significant. So they lifted up the floorboards this guy put on there, and this is what they found, right? So see, when this man is standing in there, there's no way a car could be on top and you can work normally with full body length on your car, right? Oh, it's a pit. Yeah. Thank you, Wendy. I couldn't think of that word for some reason. So what they found in that hole or in that pit was old gas cans, chemicals like paint, motor oil, spray paint, paint thinner and stuff like that, and did still not think anything of it. But they did put dogs in there, search dogs, and the dogs came out with no result. So no result whatsoever. Then they cleared everything out. This is the pit. Cleared it all out, basically. And then by mistake, basically, somebody jumped in that pit again, and they saw that the floor broke, right? After clearing it out. So what surfaced underneath was what this guy did basically was he put another floor in. He put a floor in made of concrete and put all the chemicals on top so the dogs did not detect the scent of death. Because chemicals like paint thinner, spray paint, gas, fuel, all that stuff they found in there distracts the dog's smell. So obviously, they did not detect anything. So by mistake, they found that, oh my God, this broke under somebody's foot. The floor broke. And this is what they found underneath. So this is the thickness of the concrete he put. Then they put K-9s in back again into that hole to sniff. And there you go. The K-9s found Birgit's body. And this was in October 2017. And it says that's from the Times. You can read that on Google. Just Google it. Wednesday, October the 4th, detective finds murdered sister after 27-year hunt. What this has to do with Chris Watts, you'll see in a second. Right? So absolutely brilliant, amazing. But this shows as one example that dogs cannot be fooled, but distracted by different smells is what it shows you. And this is important when we go into the body cam and into the dog search of the Watts case. All right. Dawn, would you just cover for me for 1 second, please? I have to go somewhere and call.
Sure, no problem. Any questions for now? I have to say that I didn't know about this case, and it was quite interesting. Obviously, the wrong depth of the pit should have revealed everything, but somehow the detectives didn't see that. Anyway, now we know more about canines, and maybe future cases will be easier to understand what happens in reality. Who is CB? CB. I don't know. Who said CB? He never thought he would get caught thanks to the dog. Yeah, well, thank God that criminals are not always smart enough or not lucky enough. If I would have been in their place, each time when they searched again the place, I would have done something different. For instance, try new places, imagine hidden rooms, and so on.
I'm
Oh,
back.
CW. CW. Chris Watts, CW.
Yeah, Chris Watts. CB, probably that person just put it wrong. I think she meant CW. Do you think therefore no one died in the house at Saratoga Trail, or were there chemicals there? I wasn't aware of any. We're getting to that. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going through the reports with you because I think that's important. You can read out a lot of the reports. So this is Officer Lines, the message lady, where you hear nothing other than click, 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 click all the time. You remember that woman? So on Tuesday, August the 14th at approximately 11:45 hours in the state of Colorado, county of Weld, town of Frederick, Officer K-9 responded to the police department and met with a search and rescue team and their K-9s for search efforts regarding the disappearance of Shanann and her 2 children. After being briefed on the situation, along with Officer Paris, Deputy T. Catch, Boulder County Sheriff Jane Smiljewski, and Jeff Hibbard, Search and Rescue Dogs of the United States, Sardis, responded to the home of the missing individuals. Upon arrival, I contacted Chris Watts and explained to him that the Frederick Police Department brought in some extra resources, search dogs, to help in locating his family. With his permission, he allowed a full search of his home. Prior to the beginning of the search, Deputy T. Catch, that's one of the dog handlers, and she also went in to get the samples, explained what would be needed for the dogs to have a successful search. She explained the need to collect scent articles. While speaking with Chris about appropriate items such as shoes and clothing, she stated the importance of the items not being touched by anyone else. Well, how does she think that is possible? Of course, they lived there, so everyone is touching the items, right? Each time Deputy T-Catch asked Chris about specific items, he mentioned that he had in some way touched them. Deputy T-Catch was able to collect the scent from shoes. And this is what we see. She goes in and asks for stuff and clothing, and then he says, I put out the shoes to dry, and she took a scent sample of the girl's shoes, and she also took a scent sample from Shanann's flip-flops. However, why didn't they ask him, where did you put the clothes the girls were wearing when they came home from the birthday party, right? They totally disregarded that. Or why didn't you, why can we not take samples of the car seats? You know, sweat and water makes a good basis for a dog to detect a scent, in my opinion. Anyways, upon entry to the home, I immediately noticed a strong odor of cleaning chemicals. Remember what I just told you about chemical smells and dog searches. The home appeared spotless and the carpet had noticeable vacuum lines. As we walked to the kitchen living room area, I observed that the television was on a sports show. While standing by the back slider door, Deputy T-Catch inquired about the little girl's shoes on the back porch. Chris said that the girls wore them to a pool party and the shoes had been wet, so he put them out to dry. During conversation, Chris mentioned that he had made the girls' beds that morning and had done laundry. So he mentions that. Why does he mention that? Isn't that weird? So in my opinion, he says, oh, I made the beds and I did the laundry, so nobody would ask where is the clothes the girls wore yesterday, in my opinion. So that was basically a distraction. So he mentioned that. He said that he had a hard time sleeping and he's used to one of his little girls throwing chicken nuggets at him and the other one sitting in the high chair. Bullshitter. Chris was asked about Shanann's car and if she drove it to the airport, and he said no. Nikki dropped her off. It's the white car out front. He was asked if he drives it, stating the white car in the driveway, no. He was asked if his wife has a car, and he pointed to the garage and said yes. When asked if he drives it, he stated that he took the girls to a pool party in it on Saturday. Well, he drove it all the time, right? Officer Paris commented to Chris that he can't imagine what he's going through. While speaking with Chris, he showed no emotion and did not seem to respond appropriately to the situation. Chris did not ask any questions or offer any help at any time. Chris' facial expressions rarely changed. However, when they did, he seemed to smile or smirk inappropriately, displaying a lack of empathy, specifically when speaking about his children. Low and even toned. His nonverbal cues were erect and almost tense posture, and his arms crossed a majority of the time. Chris lacked eye contact and appeared to be nervous, looking around constantly. So how can she make those observations when she was always on the phone, right? But yeah, she did. Chris escorted us through the entire house, showing us each room, including the laundry room where he dug through dirty laundry and again mentioned that he was doing his kids' laundry. So where were the clothes then? They weren't in the house, obviously. Not that we know of. Prior to beginning the search, Chris was asked to step outside, so there was no interference with the dogs. Deputy Paris remained with him, and the front door remained open so that at any time he wanted to discontinue the search, he could do so, and the information could be easily relayed. I entered the home with Jane and her K-9, who she stated is a cadaver dog. As we moved, so Jane's dog is a cadaver dog, obviously has additional training as a trauma dog or distress detection dog. The dog, as we moved through the home, Jane explained what type of scent the dog alerts to. Jane mentioned several times that the dog alerted to areas where there may have been some sort of trauma or struggle, such as an argument, explaining that scent from people pulls and collects in areas. The dog did not locate any human remains. The dog search continued from the neighborhood clubhouse, west and north, circling back to the home without success. Jane's dog was later taken to Chris' work truck, which was parked just east of the home. Jane stated that the dog detected but gave no hard command. However, The dog did not enter the vehicle, and the doors of the vehicle remained closed. Why didn't they go inside? We ask ourselves, right? And the answer is simple: because they couldn't. The work truck was not Chris' property. It was Anadarko's property. So they would have drafted a search warrant or ask Anadarko to search the truck. And that's the only reason why they didn't get into this.
I think there is another reason.
Sorry?
They didn't. I think there is another reason. They didn't consider him a suspect yet.
You think so?
Yes.
I think a suspect were very early on. At least, maybe no evidence as of yet, but behavioral wise, I think they did suspect him. Especially, Shanann's mom and Atkinson and and Nate in the end as well. Saying, oh, he doesn't act right. He never parks there, and he never goes back in and back out back and forth, and so on and so on. So I think they might have suspected him. Maybe not on paper or not publicly, but in their minds, I think they did.
Yeah, it can be because they didn't want to alert him, or at least to lose his agreement to search the house and everything.
Yeah. All right. While in the home, a track dog was asked to enter, as there had been some indication from the cadaver dog that a struggle or argument may have ensued. Jeff Hibbert and his K-9 entered the home. Jeff stated that his dog showed interest in the unmade bed in the basement and an area just below the stairs, but did not do any final trained alerts. So they mixed something up. Jeff's dog was a cadaver dog, and Jane's dog was a tracking dog. So there's that. They mixed that up because Jeff in the basement says there's no body or body parts in here. So that indicates that his dog is not a simple tracking dog. We exited the basement and went upstairs to the garage. No indicators were noted in the garage, and we exited the home. After completion of the K-9 searches, the K-9 team was thanked for their help and they left. I remained in the area to assist with the neighborhood canvas, going blah, blah, blah from door to door. So that was Officer Lines. So this one, Dave G sent me. Thank you for that. This was the very first dog from that Officer T-Catch, who asked for the samples, sent samples, and she was out back in the porch taking the samples from the shoes of the kids, right? So she let that dog. I have no clue, no idea why it says confidential, because Boulder County Sheriff's Office or Miss T-Catch noted the confidentiality as public. So why they didn't make that public, I don't know. I have no clue. So she states, this report will detail a K-9 search during an agency assist for Frederick Police Department. K-9 Scout and I responded to 2825 Saratoga Trail in Erie, Weld County, Colorado, to assist Frederick Police Department in locating a missing mother and her 2 children. K-9 Scout and I found no trails leading away from the residence. So she has a tracking dog. We advised Frederick police officers of our findings and were released from the scene. That's her report as well. So at approximately 10 a.m. on Tuesday, August the 14th, I Deputy Katie Tcash, I have no clue how to pronounce her name, but I'm guessing it's Tcash or Tcash, was dispatched along with Sardis, search and rescue dog of the United States, to respond to Frederick Police Department for a K-9 track. So she has a tracking dog. I obtained permission from Sergeant Mike Linden to respond to out of the county with my K-9 Scout. So she's in Boulder and now searching in a different county. Okay, I did not know they have to ask permission. K-9 Scout is a bloodhound certified in suburban trailing and human remains detection through Sardis. So both. 2 other Sardis handlers responded with me. That would be Jane and Jeff. Upon arrival, officers explained that a pregnant female named Shanann Watts and her 2 young daughters had been missing since 5:30 hours on Monday morning. Her vehicle was still at the house along with her cell phone and any additional clothing or items for the children. Frederick Police Officer Paris then escorted us to the missing woman's address at 2825 Saratoga Trail. After consent was obtained by Christopher Watts, I entered the home with 2 Frederick police officers to collect scent articles to use for the K-9 track. All laundry had been washed or touched by Christopher. The beds had been made by Christopher since Shanann and her children had disappeared, making it difficult to find a scent article. I asked Christopher to point out their shoes. He showed me a pair of flip-flops that Shanann had worn home from the airport. Christopher had previously touched the straps of these sandals. While wearing latex gloves, I placed a piece of sterile gauze in the flip-flops under the straps and let it stay there for a few minutes. Well, another thing, you need to leave that in there for way longer than a few minutes. Christopher also pointed out 2 pairs of shoes that his daughters had worn home from a pool party on Saturday. Christopher told me he had touched the shoes when he put them on the deck to dry. I placed a sterile gauze down inside the toe portion of each pair of the shoes for a few minutes. Here again, a few minutes. After the time had passed, I collected the gauze and placed them in Ziploc bags. I exited the house. Christopher gave one of the Frederick police officers consent to have a K-9 search the house. Stardust member Jane searched the house with her K-9 for human remains. They mixed that up, you know. Boulder County Park Ranger Jeff Hebert also searched the house with his K-9 afterwards. Ranger Hebert and I attempted tracks with our K-9s, starting at opposite ends of the block. This is what they did right. So, as we learned previously, opposite ends, because they divide a search area into different sections. I scented K-9 Scout on the gauze that I had collected from Shanann's shoe and told him to go find. We checked all surrounding intersections within a few blocks of the house. K-9 Scout would either show a negative at the intersection or walk along the edge of what appeared to be the scent pool. At one point, K-9 Scout turned north from Windham Hill Parkway, and I'll show you in a second where that was, into a field between Saratoga Trail and Steeple Rock Drive. He circled the tanks in the field, but lost interest, and I brought him back to Windham Hill Parkway. We then continued checking intersections until we had completely circled the residence with the radius of a few blocks. So her dog shows interest and starts circling the area, right? So what does circling mean in a K-9 dog? Circling. This action may mean several things. The dog may be in a scent pool and attempting to work it out. The subject may be in a tree. Well, not in this case, there were no trees. The area may have scent carried by a thermal lift, if you remember what I showed you earlier about the thermal lifts, and there is no cone for the dog to work. So this dog probably was trying to work out the area. And what did she do? She pulled him back and brought him back to Windham Hill Road. She should have waited for a little longer to let the dog figure it out, right? So Jeff and Jane, they did right, but she makes many mistakes from the get-go. She leaves the gauze only for a few minutes, and same with she's pulling the dog back when he's probably trying to just work it out, the area. So this is what Dave G sent me as well. This is the tanks, the dog circled in an area behind the what's hole. So the same conclusion, I traced our path on a map provided by Frederick Officer and gave it to Officer Paris and advised him of our findings. We were released from the scene, nothing further. So this is the area they mapped out where they went with the first dog, and then there's another map I'll show you in a sec with the second dog, but there is no map for Jane's dog in the discovery. As we all know, and I told you previously, I learned that Jane was not very happy with, I wouldn't say investigation, but with how the dog search was handled. And she gave somebody close to the scene the number of the FBI and urged that person to call rather the FBI than Frederick Police Department. So, do you guys remember what I told you about the wind and how important it is to know the direction of the wind, the humidity, and all that because of the scent? So they note this down, right? They do the conditions: clear sky, temperature, wind speed, air pressure, and air humidity. They need to do that, and they did that, right? Because of the tracking dogs, right? We learned that wind has a lot to do with how a search turns out, as well as humidity or heat, thermal, rise of heat. I put a little overlay as well on Google Maps for you guys to see where actually the search area was. And there you can see they did that right because they split the search area. So Jane went somewhere here up Mesa Road, Black Mesa, went down here. The other dog went into this area, and the other dog went on the bottom area to search. So they split that into 3 areas. And as we learned from the study, this is what you should do. So here's Saratoga Trail, right here. And they searched the upper area over there. Then the other dog, same here. Clear sky, temperature, wind speed, air pressure, air humidity. Unfortunately, we don't have that for, you have the map of Jane's search? Send it my way, darling, please. I couldn't find it. All right, so this is what the second dog searched. As we can see here, the other dog searched the upper part. They searched here. And you can see that here, this is where those tanks were, right? And where the dog showed interest and circled those tanks as Officer T-Catch described in her report. So this was the area. It's just an overlay, so you see the roads and streets clearer. All right. You guys also keep in mind that behind there, Highway 52, this witness made an observation of a white SUV at 1:30 in the morning, Monday morning, and it urged her to call in police, but was never followed up on. So, but we're getting into this. All right. So I made a little discovery in what I think is a big discovery because I never heard it before. I was watching the body cam footage, and no worries, I'm not gonna push you through the whole thing again because you would hear nothing else other than Officer Lines texting anyway. But there was some significant thing. So now, after what we learned in this presentation about dog searches and searches and the environment and why the wind and all that, we all know that Jane's dog went absolutely batshit crazy down in the basement. This is when she said he indicates he's a trauma dog, and then asks for Jeff Hebert's dog to come in to exchange and to see what he sees, if he probably detects the smell of death or anything, right? And Mr. Hebert goes down the basement, and he, after a few minutes, he says, there is, I'm quite certain there is no body or body parts in here. And we all know why the dogs did not smell the smell of death, right? Because, as I explained in the start of the presentation, it takes at least 2 hours. And in the case study, it took a dog 1 hour, 25 minutes, and the majority 2.5 to 3 hours to detect the smell of death. Meaning, when Shanann was in the house, and this is my little theory I want to explain to you after I show you that video. In my opinion, Shanann was not long enough in the house for a cadaver dog to detect the scent of death. So that does not mean that nobody died in the house. There might have been very well Shanann dying in the house, but her body wasn't long enough stored there or laying there or whatever to be detected by a cadaver dog. But as I told you about the skin cells and the forensic stuff, forensic side a little bit of the stuff, the dog did detect the stress in the basement, right? Now, I'm gonna unshare my screen and go back to the dog search, basically. Hi, Jen. Like I said, I'm not gonna pull you through the whole thing unless you want me to just play the whole thing, but we can do that at the end, so we can chat a little bit. I'm definitely still gonna show you. Oh, where is it? Did I close that window? Oh, hold on. Well, give me 1 second. I gotta pull that up real quick. Yeah, there was something that Jane said where I was like, oh my God, she did not say that. And to me, it's very significant, but you have to open your ears and eyes to hear it. It took me a while to get what she was saying, but it makes total sense. So I'm gonna share my screen. Oops, where is it? I don't want to have the whole ads and all that in there. So I'm just going to that spot where she is upstairs. So basically what happens is Jane is searching not the basement, but the main floor, and then proceeds to go upstairs into the bedroom area. And then she says something significant. And this was before she is going into the basement. So they don't know that the dog will be going absolutely ballistic, right? So, and she's talking about her dog is a trauma dog before that, and he can detect trauma or a physical argument or anything like that. Where was it? Let me see. Sorry, you guys. And my voice is going to disappear in a minute. All right. This is where they are going into the bedroom, basically. And now listen very, very carefully and very, very closely to what they are saying.
Let's turn that fan off.
She is saying, let's turn that fan off to not distract the dog from any scent, right? We know that now.
Here's a pair of her shorts. I don't know if they've been touched or moved. Well, we're interested in seeing people pick up a sign of something that would be where either a physical took place or remnants of certainly said all over, but that's sure.
Did you guys catch that? She says, well, there is no sign of a physical took place or an argument. Now we listen again, and then I play that one more time. Listen carefully now what she says.
What he's supposed to be doing is something that is a trauma scene. Okay. That's what he does. What I'm looking at more of that. Okay. Certainly downstairs when we first came in, that was interesting. But that could have been an argumentative place too.
But certainly downstairs when we came in, that could be an argumentative place too. So you guys, let's listen again what Jane says. Listen closely because it's hard to hear.
Let's see. Let's turn that fan off. Okay. Shh. Here's a pair of her shorts. I don't know if they've been touched or moved. Well, we're interested in seeing people pick up a sign of something that would be where either a physical took place or
No sign of something that would physical take place or an argument. No sign in that room. And her dog works because it's evident in the basement He goes absolutely ballistic, but not in the bedroom. And what did Chris Watts tell us? He strangled Shanann in the bedroom. And they were arguing. So there was no argument in the bedroom. This is what Jane just told us.
Remnants of certainly sin all over, but that's
Sure.
what he's supposed to be doing is something that is a trauma scene.
Okay.
Is what
That's what he does.
I look at it kind of more of that.
Okay.
Certainly downstairs when we first came in, that was interesting. But that could have been an argumentative place too.
So I hope all of you catch that. So her dog is trained in detecting distress. If there was an argument in the bedroom, in the basement, and he even took her life in the bedroom, wouldn't the dog go absolutely batshit crazy like he did in the basement? Right? Well, Suburb of Dreams, we did not really know that, because what they tell us we should believe is that it all happened as Chris told them in Wisconsin. And re-listening and re-listening and re-listening, you find out so many more things that you catch that you don't catch the first time when you listen to it. But her dog would certainly have alerted batshit crazy in that bedroom if it occurred as Chris Watts said. Right? There was definitely a struggle in the basement. I agree. Don.
Yes, I totally agree. I've heard very clearly about the lack of any physical or any kind of struggle that took place in the bedroom. Though will we see the basement too? The basement part?
Sure. Hold on, I pulled that up.
Because let's tell everybody what is our opinion.
Well, I certainly have a little theory after knowing what I know now for regarding the canines and at what times they pick up scent of death and all that. I do definitely, in my opinion, believe that she probably went upstairs, got changed, and we know that, right? That he still slept in the basement. Because
Right.
she's texting that to a friend, I believe Cassie or whoever she texted to, saying, oh, that was the best talk so far, the night before she left for Arizona. And she also texted, he even gave me a kiss before going to sleep in the basement. So what I believe happened is she came home, probably got changed, and then certain enough to, oh, we had such a great talk, maybe he's talking to me again, went down in the basement because she knew he was sleeping in the basement for weeks and weeks, right? So
maybe she took the time to search for the girls in their bedroom, but
maybe not, I don't know. I think whatever happened very fast. And
right.
So what I believe happened was she went down in the basement and he or they or whoever overwhelmed her. It went pretty quick. They took her out the basement window. Keep in mind her flight was delayed. That's when the witness Virginia comes into my mind. She reported that suspicious SUV that made her a little bit feel uncomfortable, so she reported it to police. They were waiting behind the house her flight was delayed, so they took her out of the basement window. I do personally believe that they brought her out survey that night, because you have no movement, no detection, no motion detection, nothing like that on the main floor from 2 a.m. to 4:26, and this is when he opened the basement door. So to get to the basement door, if he was upstairs, and if the story is true that he makes us believe, there must have been detection of him coming down the stairs through the front room into the basement. So there was no detection. What happened was, the very first detection this morning was the opening of the basement door at 4:26. And that's why I do believe everything happened in the basement. They took her out the window. He went with the vehicle with Shanann in the back or wherever she was. They went out to survey. They got rid of her body in a hurry because he went back. Takes him 45 minutes or 40 minutes to go back. He went back through the basement window, and this is when he came up at 4:26, is when he shortly after he got home. And this is why we only see the basement the door alert, and he stumbles along when when Tommy Lee asks him what he's doing in the basement in the morning, and then he's, oh, I don't know, I can't remember, maybe I worked out, maybe I didn't. That's all bullshit. And the reason why the K-9s did not detect any scent of death is because everything went so quick. They did, the dog did alert to her scent of distress, but not to any scent of death. And I asked that guy in our Canine unit, and I said, well, when you die, you relieve yourself. Is that some sort of scent the dogs pick up as scent of death? And he said, no, because you're not like, that's just body fluid. This has nothing to do with your urine or whatever, would not have the smell of death. So this is basically it in a nutshell for me, my little opinion, if it counts. But
Yeah, we also agreed that the method of death was chokehold from behind, consistent with the bruises on Shannon's neck and face.
yes, absolutely. And this is why she didn't fight back. She did not have time, that poor woman. She simply did not have time. Everything happened fast. And if you think about it, she comes home at 1:48. Her phone ceased giving signals at 1:51, right? So, or she wasn't on the phone anymore from 1:51. She did not see the message coming through at 2:02 when Nicole said, we're home, blah, blah, blah. So that message was never read by her, ever. So she went in the basement. Everything happened really quick. They took her out. And let's say it was 2:10 at most. 4:26, that was the alert. So that gives him 2 hours and 16 minutes, or let's say 2 hours and 20 minutes. Takes him 45 minutes to get there. 45 minutes, give or take five more minutes or less 5 minutes back. That makes 1.5 hours at most. And keep in mind, there was no traffic, was at nighttime. So he still had over an hour they still had over an hour to get rid of her body. There is no way, in my opinion, that he brings out a body out front where he could be seen by neighbors. He could be pulled over by police on the way. He is calling several co-workers with the kids in the back? No, no way. What if Bella had said something? This is all a made-up story, in my opinion.
Let's imagine also for a while that perhaps the basement was in total darkness, and she went down, and basically she was ambushed. The surprise was very big, and a chokehold is very traumatic. If you saw MMA fights, it takes a matter of seconds until the fighter signals he can't hold it anymore. So a pregnant woman and tired, and maybe with a child, a fetus already dead, it had no power enough to fight against such an attack.
Right. Absolutely agree. Yeah. And also, why did Mrs. NK sell her truck? Why? For exactly the same reason Birgit Meyer's killer did bury his car. Right? I mean,
Right.
It's obvious.
I mean, even NK put herself into that house in her own deposition. So we just connected the dots. NK was in the basement, and she helped Chris to transport Shannon's body out to the back into her car and drove her to Surgery 390.
Yeah. And you know what? I don't even believe that it was only them two on scene. Honestly, I think there were more people involved in this. And I do believe from the bottom of my heart, after what we've all discovered and timelines and little knickknacks with router logs and his GPS and all that, I think that this was planned for a long time. For a long time. And I heard a rumor recently, it was in my Facebook group, I believe, in one of my Facebook groups, that somebody said at the moment he has a pen pal and that he opened up to this. I don't know if it's a male or female, his pen pal. Could be a rumor, but it's weird that he says that. If he said it, well, we got to take everything with a grain of salt, right? But this person says that he opened up to that person and he said that years ago he had the urge to get rid of her and he never had the guts to do it. And now finally he just did it. But he had that in mind for a long time. So I do believe, and I don't give a flying rat's ass what anybody says. I do believe that this was planned.
Of course, and CW avoided at all costs even the idea of premeditation, because the premeditation is the difference between life in prison and death penalty.
Right. I mean, after all this, it's so obvious, you know. People think, and I did think, to be absolutely honest, I did think there was never anyone killed in the house, ever. Because I did not have the background information and the knowledge to form my opinion in the right direction, if that makes sense.
You don't have to excuse yourself. I mean, things evolve. Information are available or not. And something else too, you don't owe anyone an explanation for your own opinion.
Yeah, but still, you learn as you go, don't you?
Right. Sure,
I mean,
of course.
with her saying there was no argument or no evidence of any physical argument in the bedroom, if Lines would have listened to her instead of texting all the time, she might have picked that up. And this woman she's pretty well known in the area for her dog searches. You know, she also asks her, is there a possibility they were leaving through the back? Because the dog was pushing her towards the back of the house. And all Lines said was, oh, we don't know yet. Well, write it down at least. You know, this just makes me mad. All right, so they go into the basement, and they turn the furnace off. After that, the dog goes absolutely crazy. But let's watch. Be aware, you guys, your ears, because he's gonna bark very loud. I'm gonna turn it down a bit, but just be warned.
That's interesting.
And one more thing, you guys. If he did come home from the birthday party, where is the footage? Nate has every single minute for a week. So he pretty much would have seen him coming home. You remember I catched headlights at 4 different occasions on his surveillance camera. So he certainly would have had him coming home. Why don't we see that footage? Why don't we see more footage of the doorbell? This thing records voices. Why don't we get the results from the Alexa? These are all these things that just blows my mind.
Copy, break. 1185 dispatch. 85 and up. Copy, 1238. Go ahead, sir. Center of Oil Drive. 1239. Hey.
Yep.
Interesting because he immediately. Quiet. Are you trying to tell me something? Just need a break. Here, check. He's trying.
Something's upsetting him here.
Yep, something's upsetting him here.
Yes, that's a quick one of us. Hi, for unit line.
Cool.
105. You can attach me to that meeting. I'll be on the same call.
Something's upsetting here in this area. Here. Something's upsetting him here.
Okay.
To see he's trying to tell me something. If you need to kind of mark that, although this is
What's that?
the stairs. So we can mark this area as an area of interest.
Okay.
Don't know why. See, he's getting pretty. That's of a trauma type.
Okay.
And it's right by the stairs, and there's a fan running there. So see all that.
So she says the barking indicates some trauma type, and there's a fan right there. So the furnace here obviously pushing the wind towards the stairs. When she asked for Jeff Hebert's dog to come down after that one, and his dog didn't detect anything. Why did he didn't detect anything? Because he's not trained for trauma. That's the reason, right? So they totally disregarded what Jane's dog found. And Jeff coming in, oh, there was no body or body parts. They disregarded the basement totally.
On Canyon Big House. LBN wanting to report their tractor trailer missing. It never arrived, and the driver's refusing to deliver possible area.
Notice that? It's been up in the air. Here, calm down. Okay, there's some reason. Okay, maybe have for one of the others.
Could be what? How much of a role will the furnace play on that?
Huh?
Will the furnace affect any of that?
Well,
Do I need to shut it off?
I think Jeff or one of them should come in here down there.
So this bed is definitely not made. Stuff on hangers, coats.
That intensity, see, he hasn't been that intensity.
There's a dead wasp on the bed, but
not been that intensity, yeah.
there's a sleeping mask right here too.
That's not a sleeping mask. That's a purple bandana. My mods and I, we did figure that out by zooming and zooming and zooming. So this is not a sleeping mask, you guys. The one upstairs, the purple thing they found on the floor, that's a sleeping mask. But the one on the bed is not. That's a purple bandana.
There's a sleeping mask right there too.
not been cleaned up like
Mm-mm.
everything else.
Sure hasn't.
See, this may be her scent. Something has set him off.
Well, that's a like a night sleep.
Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm. Night sleep mask.
Something has set him off down in this area. Maybe get Jeff or one of the others in here and see, because with this,
Let me. I'll have Officer Perez send one of them in.
before they get going, just bring him down into this area and see. And just because he's so intense. Okay, that's a good boy. Come here. Okay, sit down. With that fan going,
I just shut it
it's
off.
hard to tell where that scent's actually coming from.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'll get him out.
Hey, can you send one of the canines down to the basement, please?
Let me get him out of here.
Yep, she's going to take her dog out, and we need to have one of them come in, and I'm going to stay in the basement and wait for them. So she's coming out right now. Big time. But we don't know what, so that's why we're going to have one of the others come in, because they have different skill sets. So keep everybody out. She's coming out, and just have another canine come in. All right? Okay. Bye.
Somebody stay on our block at Stagecoach Drive with 408 Ida George Boy.
So pretty fast.
Just do a search of this
Yep.
without information from what
Yep.
Janie did, and
Yep.
give you a little bit better information.
Sounds good.
No Suburb of Dreams, because he's coming down after Jane has gone already, so they don't cross each other like on a search area.
Is this bed that's used, or
We don't know. It's the only bed in the house that's unmade.
Dispatch Jones County 23.
Nanya Business, his was orange and hers was white, blue, yellow in color. They wore bandanas at the sand dunes, that's right.
Johnson 832. Correction, Johnson 8233.
I'm gonna run run down to Johnson's Corner and see if I can attempt to find this vehicle that they've lost.
Copy, Tony, you're out.
Stop. That's Duncan's. Extra.
Can you flashlight?
Yeah, I'm just seeing what he's. So he's not doing it. His faint frontal, his trained frontal alert.
Okay.
So I'd say there's no HRT stuff in here. He has a little interest here. Dex, come here, please. You know, it may be worth looking at this map if things develop. I don't know. It's just kind of had a little bit of. Is this where Janie's dog had interest too? Or?
Very good. The opposite side, so bed area, and we actually shut off the furnace just to eliminate that. But it was from the other direction, right where those coolers were.
Okay.
So a lot of just refocus. So I don't know.
832, can you repeat that?
If there was.
Yeah, I'm sure I played up on something. You meet me out at Johnson's Corner.
Okay.
Sorry.
Copy, I'm just finishing up on that out there about you.
Am I good to turn this back on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now listen what he says when he goes towards the exit.
Yeah, there was just revisiting right here. The only thing, and there's a bag of rope and some tie downs and a whole bunch of paint cans.
Yeah. So I'm pretty confident it would not be a body or parts.
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident that there is no body or parts. Of course, because his dog did not alert to anything. Like I said, he's a cadaver dog. He's not trained to detect distress or trauma. He's fully trained to detect bodies or decomposition scent. And he did not do that. Why? Because of what we learned, that Shanann probably wasn't long enough to develop the scent of death yet. And I really don't want to go any further. They go in the garage then, and he doesn't detect anything either. And then it goes on and on. Road area searches where they placed scents because they did one of these traits where they place scents in some areas so the dog wouldn't lose interest. All right, turn that off. Oh, you guys don't even get me started on the Brian Koberger case. I'm gonna upload a video because of his eyebrows, and I found so funny. But yeah, many holes in this case too. Certainly not what we expected it to be. In my opinion, they have very, very little evidence on Koberger. If they only have the knife thingy, but yeah, we don't know. We probably gotta wait till everything comes out. Yeah, I will be, and I'm asking Jonathan as well to come on up again, because I thought that was a very, very good and nice and insightful discussion. He knows that case inside out. And yeah, if some of the mods can put Jonathan Lee Rich's YouTube link in here, I would be highly appreciated. All right, Dawn, your turn. I need a drink.
Yeah, I have one last observation about the dog searching. I find that Jeff is more professional and his dog is better trained. He's paying attention a lot to his dog. In fact, the dog is, let's say, his sensor, and he's communicating with his dog. On the other hand, Jane is not paying too much attention to that poor dog, which struggles to draw her attention to him and to his signals. In fact, she's staying much of the time with her back turned to the dog, searching in the cupboards and doing other things that a canine specialist shouldn't do. So the dog was good, but Jane not so much.
Well, that's probably because I mean, I don't know, but what I can think of happens here is Jane is listening because her dog indicates through barking, while Jeff's dog indicates through sitting down or putting his paw down. You know, that could be the reason why too. So she rather listens, and every time he starts barking, she's turning around like immediately.
Yeah, but many times she is shushing the dog.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but in the basement, she had no chance to shush him. Like, this dog went absolutely crazy.
To me, what I saw, it is proof enough to our scenario that Shannon was killed, ambushed at the base of the stairs in the basement.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, with after what I learned and, you know, changed my opinion a little bit on this case, or the outlook on this case, I was back then thinking, well, maybe, you know, he held her somewhere or she was held with her children somewhere. But after knowing what I know now, I do believe it happened like I said it happened. Like, everything went pretty quick, and she had no chance. I do believe there's more people involved than one female. At least for the part where you know, outside survey to get rid of the bodies and stuff. I do believe that Chris Watts obviously is right where he belongs, and it's a shame that he doesn't open his mouth, because other possibly involved people are still running free. And this is just not okay, in my opinion. I do believe he saw at least the children dead because he makes remarks of Bella's appearance. The chemical burns above her eye. So to me, I still do believe that the kids did not come home after the birthday party. And I do still believe that they had been waiting for Shanann. But he did see the text message Shanann sent to him telling him the flight was delayed. Too late. Otherwise, it would have probably happened earlier. And this is why I do believe he said to the others, maybe, oh, wait around the corner, or her flight is delayed and she's coming home later and whatnot. I definitely do not believe that his bedroom scenario that is basically proven by Jane or not Jane, but her dog. He didn't alert to anything up there. He did bark a few times, but not as excessive as in the basement. So to me, it's clear.
Do you want to talk a little about the outcome of this case, about the Watts case? The
What do you mean?
chances, I mean, about the chances to, let's say, reopen the case.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you have to rely on people who are not out for promotion, right? Law enforcement officials who are not out for promotion. And the people we contacted and did back then and worked our asses off, they don't give a shit.
No, they all said that the case is closed.
The case is closed and they have their man, because there's one thing and one thing only they want, and that is to please the majority of the public. Right? They gotta present somebody that's guilty, and we see that all the time, that people take in plea agreements all the time, and 90% of the cases are getting solved in Colorado by plea agreements. So yeah, that says it all for me, really.
So
Yeah.
only a private investigation could have some chances to bring to justice the rest of the accomplices.
Maybe not, because even if let's say we hire a private investigator, right? They don't have to give him any information. If they don't want anything to come out, it won't.
I wasn't referring exactly to the justice by the law.
Oh, okay.
So I can't say more. Your channel would be closed.
Yeah. Someone was at Survey Wednesday morning because of the fresh sand. In my opinion, this is when the girls went in the tanks. I do believe they were all buried because first plan fell apart. Anyone else agree? Wednesday. Must have been Wednesday morning then, no? Because they were out there like... No, couldn't have been Wednesday morning. And I'm telling you why. Because our friend Troy McCoy states in his interview that he led authorities out to the field, which we never knew until we discovered that in a live stream of mine. That he said, oh, you guys asked me to go out there with you and blah, blah, blah. So, but that was never mentioned in the discovery. Why did he lead them out there? There was no word in the discovery that Troy McCoy went with the FBI, by the way. not with Frederick Police Department or CBI. He went with FBI out there. Same with Kessinger, questioned by the FBI. McCoy, questioned by the FBI. Watts, questioned by the FBI. All the other ones weren't, but they were. And also him saying, oh, an officer called me from Frederick Police Department at 2 p.m. This is when I was out there because I lost my wrench. Bullshit. Yeah. There you can see that the FBI did not know that Frederick was calling Troy McCoy and vice versa. So they basically, what they did was 2 different investigations, each on their own. The FBI as well as CBI and Frederick Police Department, because they had no clue that someone was calling him. Stick to their exactly, Wendy.
One small observation about people having different opinions. I fully advise everyone to have his own opinion. You don't need agreement groups or agreement fans. Go wherever the evidence leads you.
Yeah. Good advice. This is what everyone should do. Make up your own opinion, after research, and don't believe everything you see or hear in the media or even in the tabloid newspapers or whatever. Best example, when I read that about Brian Koberger's eyebrows, I thought, like, what? They have nothing to report about. So they're reporting about his eyebrows. Makes you wonder. Yeah, true. Troy's such a liar. Glad water truck guy got him caught up. Yeah, absolutely. And he shit his pants. Are we banging our heads against a brick wall? I do believe this will only go any further when Chris is finally admitting that other people were involved, plus that he lied with the bedroom scenario. But even if you confront this guy with what you find out, he will still not say anything. He gives you little pieces here and there, and all of a sudden remembers, then doesn't remember. I don't believe that. Do people think Chris Watts is? Absolutely not.
His well-being in prison is the most important thing for him.
Yeah. His friends, pen pals, that is the most. And that he's not going back to Colorado. His parents deserve to know, right? I mean, not only his parents deserve to know, the public deserves to know, because, potential criminals walking amongst people. It's crazy.
Maybe NK found another loser and she is using him for similar things.
I mean, I don't even believe that NK is hiding that much, because you got to keep in mind the majority of the public is satisfied with the prosecution presenting their man. He did it all. He confessed to everything. He's in prison. Now people get promoted and being sergeants and boss of the CBI and whatnot. And this is what people want to know, and this is what they believe. Other than us, because we're like hobby investigators, right? And we dig deep. But I believe for the majority of people, this case is over. And I don't even think that if NK walks the streets somebody would ever, from talking about the majority of the public, would ever even approach her or know who she is.
Catherine, I don't think that Watts is in control of anything. Even he's not in control of his own ass. I mean, literally. But we can change that only if we all agree that he lied all the time, and that somebody other than law enforcement will take care of any case. By taking care, I mean find her, have a talk with her in a private place, and maybe we'll know the truth. It's not that hard to find NK.
No. Just camp outside her dad's place or sleep in your car. You know, if somebody wants to find her, interview her, or whatever, it's easy to do. You know, it might take you a week or two, but sometimes she will go meet her parents or whoever, or friends or whatever. You know? The thing is, though, if you would be in her situation, well, I would definitely put out some cease and desists and put out some reports and take people to court for pulling my name through the mud. But she doesn't do that for a good reason. She wants to stay in the background. She does do anything for not get publicly in the public's eye again. If I was innocent, I wouldn't give a shit. I would say, yeah, here's my phone. Here's my friend's phone number. Here is my GPS. Here's my bill where I went to the gas station. Here's everything. Go to Anadarko and see on one of their 200 cameras if I've been to work that morning or not. When did I punch in? When did I punch out? You know? This is what an innocent person does. In my opinion. This is what I would do. You know, and also none of her friends, school friends, none of these people ever came forward. None of them. You always have, if a tragedy like this strikes, you always have like friends, or like in the Koberger case, a former high school friend came forward, or a friend of the friend of the friend who saw him or whatnot. There's always somebody talking, but not in her case. It's like this person only existed for that murder and then disappeared again. It's really strange. Really strange.
I have an explanation to that. Let's not forget that she has multiple personalities disorders, and only one personality is guilty. The other ones are not guilty. It depends who are you talking to which one.
The arrogance is just, you know, or in her interview when she says, well, did you find the girls yet? Like with total disregard, and it just makes me mad. Yeah, imagine next poor guy. Dark friends, yeah. I would shout it from the rooftop too. I would go to Dr. Phil. I would go to everyone. New York Times, whatever, the biggest, CNN, whatnot, you know.
Yeah, she didn't sue anyone.
CBS, I would go everywhere, you know, but CBS, Why don't they go and interview her? You know, they pulling YouTube creators through the mud who can have nothing to do, or, you know, accusing them of harassment and death threats, and with absolutely no friggin' proof of anything. But they put that out there and people watch that. Why don't they put out there, come on, NK, show us your proof that you weren't there that morning? Because on paper here you pinged, but they took it out of the discovery. Why would they take that out of the discovery, that she pinged? Because of people like us. That's why. Why don't you get any reply to any of your questions or messages? Right? When you write to Rourke, or what do you mean with this? Or is there any this? Or did you look into that? Oh, it's not in the public interest. This is all for me, from my point of view, this is the only message or email I ever get back. It's not in the public's interest, so we don't have to give you that information. It's sick, absolutely sick. Well, yeah, but we keep on going, trying to find stuff out, connecting dots, and, well, sooner or later there must be somebody who, you know, or another example, that guy who said he confessed to him that she killed the girls. The media is hopping on that like flies on shit. Like, why? With no proof. And for me, honestly, it seems like they don't even want proof. All they want is rumors, drama, because that sells, that brings you the money, with no background information. Or this is what the mainstream media is out for. Stories, right? Oh, that's a good story. What? Here's somebody who can prove that she was there? Nah, it's not in the public's interest. But drama and, oh, I was a friend or a cellmate of Chris and he told me this and that. This is what they bring out on TV and in articles and everywhere. Give me a break. Right? Anyways, it was nice seeing you each other, and us each other again. It's 2:26 in the morning. My voice is going down, and I would like to close this live stream now. Next time, I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm gonna be doing. I'm gonna be coming up with something, definitely. There was the question of if I had a date for the documentary. I do not. All I know is it will be sometime March, April, springtime. Also, it's not because I'm too lazy to put that together, but one reason of that is that I do get professional help from a filmmaker or video editor, professional video editor, and this costs a lot of money. So I'm going by, when I have a little bit of money left, I'm putting that in, and then he does the next 5 minutes, and so on and so on. He doesn't do the whole documentary, but I give him basically the clips, and I tell him what I want to do. But it's the editing and the putting together and all that just costs money. And yeah, so I'm going along. When I have a little bit left, I'm putting this into the documentary. And if I don't have any money left, then it takes a week longer. So I'm aiming for March, April, but please forgive me if it's probably the first week of May, okay? So no, I do not have a specific date where it comes out, but it will be coming out, I promised you, and you will be seeing it anyways. All right, you guys. Next time, go in, like I said, want to do definitely another discussion live stream with interesting guests to discuss the Brian Koberger case. And my next live stream about the what's, I'm thinking of something. I have something in the back of my head concerning the mind and the psychological aspect of why he brings sexuality into the murders so often. Maybe I'm doing a live stream on that. But yeah, do a fundraiser. Oh yeah, please. Nah, like I said, money is tight. Everyone needs their money, especially these days with gas, electric, everything is going through the roof. So I'm just doing a little bit at a time, and we'll get there. Big revelations today in that live stream. So according to the dog of Jane, there was no argument, no heated, no physical, no nothing in the bedroom. So what does that tell us? Chris, what's his story is bullshit. Like all of what he says, 90% of what he says. All right, with that being said, have a nice rest of your weekend. Have a nice Sunday tomorrow. And I'll be probably seeing you. When do I see you? Do I have to work? Well, if I'm still COVID positive on Monday, that means I have to stay another 5 days at home. So, yeah, but everything will be all right. So take care of yourself, stay true to yourself, and out of trouble. Love you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.